Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Mystic Revolution. And this season, we're focusing on conscious creation and all the being and the doing, and some tips and tricks and some deep wisdom about that. But first, you know us, first, a little meditation. So, wherever you are, if you're not driving, please tune into your inner world and close your eyes. And notice your weight in the chair and just rest. Really let the chair support your body. And breathe. Really let the divine breath support your soul, the physical breath support your body. And breathe. Good. And so we're just resting our body and resting our soul. And let's bring our attention to the center of the head, behind the third eye, and back all the way back to the middle. And just rest your attention there, like you're just seated in a park lounge or seated in a beach chair. Just rest. Resting your attention here now. Beautiful. And so feel free to keep resting, body, soul, and spirit. Or if you'd like, you can start to open your eyes and stay resting as Susana and I start to chat about conscious creation. Conscious creation. So, Susana's going to start us off with some fundamental things, some of the big picture items we're going to be going into this season.
Sure. So some of the big picture items we're going to be talking about are having. Can we allow ourselves to actually create what we want? We're going to talk about being in the flow, in the zone of that creation. We're going to talk about co-creation. We're going to talk about owning your ability to create. And those are some of the big themes. We'll talk about it from a spiritual perspective. We'll talk about it from a magic perspective. We'll talk about it from a lot of different perspectives, because let's be honest, we're creating in every single moment. We are creating, right? And so what we're doing in each moment actually matters. And this is not to say we should all get caught up and spun out about every little word and every little thing that we're doing. But if we're thoughtful about it, if we're mindful about it, if we're conscious about it, we can have a bigger impact, a more exacting creation or manifestation. And so anyway, that's what this season is all about.
Yes, how exciting. I hope
Yes.
everybody who's tuned in is excited too and relates to us with questions or comments or their perspectives. It'd be great to hear. Yeah, because we're all creating all the time.
Yeah.
From the time that we're starting to become together as bodies, I think that's a really powerful place to stand, that we are co-creating with the universe, with each other, with spirit from the beginning and in each breath.
In each breath can lean into that each of us has this, and there's nothing to compare it to. And we can open to the flow of it and sort of drop all the things, unhook from all the things.
Yes.
That really is that's the creative flow.
Yes.
And I go back to the question of what are we making matter? If I'm creating out of I suck or I'm scared,
Yes.
it's fine, right? I can create out of that.
Oh,
There's no
yeah.
judgment
Oh,
at
good at it.
all.
Yeah.
But I am also creating out of that. And if like my fear or my lack of worth is a dominant feature, then that will likely impact, what I am creating. Now, maybe that's a really good thing. I mean, certainly like creating or for me singing grief or singing or sounding emotion,
Yes.
like that's an intention because
Yeah.
it's an intentional sort of expression or relief. But sometimes we want to create a very specific thing and all this other stuff is
Yes.
in the mix.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I tend to call it is we're creating through all these things we're not usually conscious of or meaning to create through. We're creating through
Yeah.
all those filters on the way
Yeah.
to, oh, I want to have a great relationship. And then all this other shit is showing up. What's that about?
Yeah. And so, I mean, well, relationships are a really great example. I mean,
Hmm.
I mean, I'll just be honest about myself. I I think uh, I think that so many of my relationships, um, especially more intimate ones, I mean, absolutely were shaped by my own lack of self-worth.
Yes.
And even though I wanted to create this kind of relationship, I didn't know that I I didn't know that I could get out of this lack of self-worth to create something. Like you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. And so I kept, well, maybe if I do it differently, or maybe a different person, or maybe, and all of those things are factors because we are co-creating. But until I was able to shift this,
Yes.
I was continuing to create experiences that weren't totally fulfilling for myself or the
Yeah.
other people. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
And there's life is intense and there's loss and there's upset and like that can all be happening and is valid and it's a valid body experience, but it's not the only experience going on. There's also energy. There's several layers of energy that we can also tap into to help
yes,
us kind of ride the waves through what's going on.
yeah, great.
So one of the things I wanted to say hi to in this flow thing is first just really giving ourselves to now. And we've said this lots of times before, here, now, with.
Yeah,
But like I want to go a little deeper into it because it's so normal to be creating our lives, creating our stuff, creating our art through our history, creating through our expectations of the future or other people's programming or expectations of us
mhm,
through whatever emotion or the climate of feelings we happen to be in at the time, in us or
yeah,
around us,
yeah,
or through our thoughts or beliefs. It should be like this. I shouldn't be like that. Like
yeah.
these are all they're good information, but do I really want to be creating through them?
That is so important because I can think of a number of instances in my life where I created out of, let's just say, past or less than thinking or trauma or whatever it was. And the things that I was creating didn't turn out that great.
And it's not always conscious.
It's
It's
not
just
always
like the already
conscious.
always way of being
Right.
victim or whatever.
Yeah. Right. And
Mhm.
to your point, there's the creation of like a piece of art or something like that, but like particularly in relationships, if you're creating a relationship out of a stance of lack or of unlovability or out of
Yes.
victim or whatever, it's going to have a very different outcome than coming to, which I love your phrase, be here now with.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So I believe, as I keep saying, I believe what's helpful is to go below everyday consciousness that drives everything. Like if I'm not, I can't, it's hard to be conscious there. And that below everyday consciousness, I believe psychology is really, really more and more explicating this. There's a whole lot of non-rational, non-conscious stuff that just drives our choices and our behavior and how we relate to each other. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on under here that we're not very conscious about.
Yeah.
And it creates the life that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is time and time again, I work with the modality of hypnosis, which gets to the unconscious. And I create a container for people to go in. I don't tell them what's going on. They actually uncover them themselves, and they're often just completely shocked by what is discovered.
Yes.
It's not anything that they could have just come up with a normal consciousness, or I even could have seen
Yeah.
or told them about. And it's so powerful when there's that recognition and understanding, then it becomes easy to let go of. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say sometimes it is like that. I mean, it's crazy. Other times it takes a little bit more time, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we like in some ways, once we really can see it and be with it and not resist it, then
Yes.
okay. Okay. And it's like been unconscious. We can't even see it. And then we can see it and then we can deal with it and then it can be gone.
And then it can be gone.
And then we can have
And
a different life,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
extraordinary. Um, so so below the what we think and we feel and we feel, there's a whole lot. And so it helps whatever practices that we can utilize to get below there. And last time we talked about it, and then we can perceive what is, perceive what's possible, choose and act from much more freedom.
Yes.
Um, and all the old defaults of just this is how it is can start to move away, and we can discover a whole new freedom.
Yes, we can discover a whole new freedom. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important point. And just from my own experience, I lived so much of my life very fragmented. And when I had the experience through this practice where it was just all united, and literally, I mean, it is, I'll just use my own words. It's allowing oneself to be embodied with the energy of the divine all the time.
Yes.
And it's not something, obviously I have my different practices, but it's not something I go to the mountaintop or have to stop everything and like it's allowing that integration. Really, it's the fullness of who I am or who we all are, and allowing space for that. And I think one of the things that I run up with people that I work with sometimes is this disconnect. Well, like I can't, you know, I'm not part of God, or I'm not worthy of connecting with that all the time, or um it's, you know what I'm talking about, this
I
idea
do.
of it's totally a separate thing. And so understanding that it's not, or it doesn't have to be, and that to my mind, it's part of, right, our birthright here as
Yes.
humans that we get to.
Yes. Okay. So from my perspective, yes, there's the make the things, do the art, create the wonderful life, change the relationships, whatever it is. But I like to see creativity in the big picture, that we're artists of our life.
Yeah.
And within that, we have a lot of art projects. We have a
Yes.
lot. And so that, I don't know, I just love it's a playful picture. It's going along picture. And I want to say also, I'm using this art thing, but I've never seen myself as an artist. I'm not a natural painter or poet or whatever. That's not come easy for me, but I'm all kinds of crazy about the art of life. Like that's really juicy, I think. And
Yeah.
I really like that. I consider life as my greatest art.
Yes.
And it just makes it a very different thing than like life sucks and then you die. It's a very different place to stand.
Well, right. And it's a very different place to stand than these are the things that you're supposed to do in your life. And if by this age you should be doing this, and by this age you
Right,
should be doing that. And if you aren't doing that, then there's something wrong with you, right? And
right.
this sort of arbitrary, it is arbitrary. Someone just kind of came
Yeah,
up with these ideas, right?
yeah,
We get to create in every single moment
yeah,
what aligns with our true path, our true
yeah,
soul. And it doesn't have to align with these outside standards or ideas of what we're
yeah.
supposed to be doing, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
to your point about like the tools and the practice and the coming to our meditation, I mean, these are some of the things that we learn to tend to, so that some of like our soul sensibilities and some of the higher or extrasensory perceptions that help us experience the way Wendy is talking, when Wendy's speaking to the different dimensions of our existence and the places where we actually can dial into, we can live in that may have been invisible to us before.
Yes. Yes. Invisible. So, and there's two parts of it. There's the what's invisible and how can we see it? How can we perceive it? And then how can we uh, choose and change?
Hmm.
And then there's also that we do that enough and our consciousness really does jump and
Yes.
like it really is a new world. And so these two are like an extraordinary thing that happens, I think.
Yeah.
And what is possible is increases hugely as we go up that mountain. And still, it's our values and our choices of what gets produced
Yes.
um, as we do.
If you really want to help, like
Yeah.
allowing yourself to have your own joy and bring that and ripple it out
Yes.
means so much to people who are having hardship or
Yeah.
dealing with illness or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a
And
healing. It's a
it's a
total
healing.
healing.
It's the best thing we can do. It's called being the change.
Being the change. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, how about we have a break and then we'll talk a little bit about practices.
Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Hey everyone, just a friendly reminder that on the first Tuesday of every month, we hold a Mystic Revolution meditation, and you're invited. Just go to our website and you'll find the link. We look forward to seeing you then.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks that deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
And the thing about the
Yeah.
provisions, like there's so many things that are going on in a situation that may not be optimal, that you can apply the energy or the perspective to. Like it's great to practice these things in a state of time of your life when may not feel optimal, because then you're building your muscles and you can play with it in ways, and then that creates
Yes.
the velocity that you
Yes.
were talking about too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the soul gym. Let's talk about the
Yes.
soul gym because when we go to the physical gym, we develop strength,
Yeah.
muscle, and we develop endurance, and we develop balance, and we develop flexibility, etc. And we do the same thing in the soul gym. And the more we do it, if we have a soul practice that is effective, that's what's happening among many other things. We bring it.
It's just getting that super clarity.
And knowing that it's okay to ask,
Mm-hmm.
And we have we have permission, we have it's more than that, we have invitation to, in this giant co-creation that we're in, it's very necessary
Yes.
to be making choices and acting inside and then out.
Yes.
To move the world in the direction that we choose.
Yes. Yeah. To move the world in the direction that we choose, to move our reality in the direction that we choose, which is then the world. But yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Right. And our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to get up in the morning and swim before work, I have to actually get up in the morning and swim before work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that when we engage, we can amplify.
Yes.
Right. It's focus and intention, but then amplify. And I can take the steps and I can also further amplify.
Yes.
Right. With my the way I direct my energy, with my mindset, with additional tools, right? I mean, the wand isn't, as a director, it's also an amplifier. I mean,
yes,
crystals are amplifiers. There's calling in the directions, or working with the God of your heart is an amplifier.
Yes, and angels and archangels and ascended masters and healing guides, like all that.
Yeah,
we have so much help.
We have help. Yeah, well, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think, when I think about, if we're talking about steps or things to do, allowing yourself to discern, really, like what's immediate and what's not, what's specifically yours to dial into and what's not. And even when we're in the really dark night of the soul, that can help alleviate part of it. And if you're a sensitive person and you take on everything, I mean, I think it's imperative that you do this. And it can be as simple as, not watching the news 24/7. I mean, honestly, that can dial it down quite a bit. If you're dealing with something that's deep and personal, I mean, that's a whole thing. And then we get into what we talked about last time about, okay, where can I focus in this moment, in this human bite, in this bite-sized chunk? Where can I focus? And it may just be, for the moment, just holding your heart and just being with the pain. But there are, I mean, I think both of those things, that discernment and like just being in the moment with what is as it is, are important in this conversation.
Extraordinarily important.
Yeah.
And really, really getting the idea, like, what is my purpose, calling? Where are my gifts? Where is, because I can't fix all the things. I can't save all the starfish on the beach. Just can't. If I do it night and day, I can't do it. But if I'm helping my neighbor because that's my call, or if I'm, raising my children to be extraordinarily themselves, or like, if we can just own that what we're doing and what we're called to and where our gifts draw us makes our difference. And if everybody does their difference, then the world transforms.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, build the capacity to be with, which is such a, I mean, I go back to a previous conversation. I mean, the practice and the provisions, because sometimes it's a long haul. It takes time.
Yes.
It takes time to heal from cancer. It takes time to heal a broken leg. It takes time, right? All of these things. And, what we're talking about are some tools, practices, and ways to shift perspective and direct energy that do not abandon what's
Yes.
going on.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
fact, direct more care and attention and healing from the inside out, right? And then we
Yes.
can get care and attention from medical professionals from the outside in, but like
Right.
those two or whatever, right? But those like I think that this part right here that you're talking about is so important. And and then also, working with spirit, working with the divine, working with the God of your heart, working with angels and guides, or the gods or goddesses, whatever it is. We talked about focus and intention a few times back, and that can, as we're being here now with, can I pull in divine source energy and just direct it and let this part of my body bathe in it, even if it's in pain, even if, right?
Yes. And without attachment, just give it a different vibration and see what happens.
Give it a different vibration and see what happens. Yeah. And nothing
And gosh, I have
bad is going to happen out of that.
right. I mean, like we could talk about this. We really could talk about this for a whole season. There's so much, so many tips and insights.
Yes.
But I mean, I'll just pick one thing to say at the end, which is, I used to notice this said, and I used to say this a lot when I was young, like if we don't listen to life, it speaks in louder blows. And the same is true of the body. So really choosing when the house is on fire to not run away, but to stay and call the fire department and make sure the cat's out. Like it's really useful. It's useful than just to be screaming down the road and like not caring for what really needs care. And that is our opportunity to do, which is to care for our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the practice of it and bringing the practice and the provisions of it into whatever group we're working in.
Yes.
It's not about trying to convince anybody of anything or trying to do anything. It's just a lens to look through, perhaps some practices that can be translated into the language of the group. I mean, the idea of having a vision and a mission is nothing new, right? But how are we tending to that? And that even, I mean, I just know from experience, like in some of the most like places that you would never expect, right? The energy of that shows up and it makes a huge difference. And so and it reflects on the organization or the agency that this person or persons are in, and it really shifts things. So
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll talk more about this in upcoming seasons. But if you have any experiences in your community or ways that mysticism or your abilities of perception help something in your group, we'd love to hear about it. And with that, I will hand it off to Wendy for the last meditation of the season.
Hooray. Okay, and let's tune into our inner world. We already know how to sit in the center of the head and just let that candle flame flow, or just sit like you're sitting in a beach chair in your favorite place in the world and rest. And then let your body rest in the chair and breathe. And as you breathe, just notice in yourself that there is creative energy. Maybe you could see it as a color or a sparkle or a shape or whatever. Just notice in your own system there's creative energy, and ask that as you breathe to flow and dance all around your body, your space, letting that creative energy increase. Good. And Let's ask some of that creative energy to flow up and through your shoulders, down your arms, and out your hands. So this creative energy flow is flowing through you out as you, whatever you're doing in the world, the flow of your own creative energy is flowing. Making it easier to do art and play and create and make dinner and make the bed, whatever it is. Letting the creative energy do the work as you physically do the things. And let's ask that creative energy as it plays around in your space, wherever it is, to be washing away the blocks and the limits and the lies and the heaviness that might get in your way of playfully enjoying being a conscious creator in your world. Please enjoy keeping doing that. And Susana and I will come back to everyday consciousness a little to say thank you so much for playing with us and being with us through this season.
Thank you,
Susana, for wonderful information the last few times. It's just been really great.
Well, it's great to work with you because you bring great information too. And so it's really a delight. So thank you. And thank you to Rusty, our producer.
Rusty, our producer. Awesome.
And
okay.
We'll see you next season.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Thanks so much for playing with us. Please support Mystic Revolution by liking and sharing our show.
And sign up to get notified when new content is available.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
Join us for our monthly Mystic Meditation on the first Tuesday of the month at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time.
Click on the link in the description to get more information and join the Mystic Revolution.
We look forward to seeing you then.